We have been talking about articles over the past two videos, and today is the third and last video in this series about articles. And the main point or the main issue of today's video is to talk about situations in which we shouldn't use any articles, which means that we should employ the concept of zero article. The first situation is when you are making a generalization. So if you use zero article plus an uncountable noun, or if you use zero article plus a plural noun, this means that you are making a generalization, which means that you're talking about things in general, and you're not specifying your talk or your speech or your writing about a particular person or a particular thing. For example, you can say, music played an important role in his life. So I'm using here the word music, which is an uncountable noun. We're using it without any articles before it, because we're talking about music in general. Music as a whole represented something really significant for him and played a very important role in his life. So you don't say the music played an important role in his life. That's not grammatically correct. You shouldn't use any articles in this example, and you just use a zero article plus the uncountable noun mentioned in the sentence. Also, another example, you say, for instance, books should be zero rated, which means that you shouldn't pay taxes on the prices of books. So I'm talking here in this example about books in general. I'm not specifying a certain type or a certain sort of books. I'm talking about books as a whole. So that's a plural countable noun, and we use it with zero article to say or to mean the whole idea or the whole notion of books being important to be sold at zero rate. Okay, so what if we use the with these patterns? So if we use the with an uncountable noun, or if we use the with a plural noun, if you do that, you're actually doing the opposite of what we mentioned before. In this case, you will be specifying, you will be referring to particular people or particular things. For example, you say, I think the music is the best thing about the film. So here we didn't say music like we did in the past example. In this example we said the music. I think the music is the best thing about the film. So using the before the uncountable noun here means that you're talking about something specific, which is the music of that film. You're not talking about music in general here. Also, in another example, you might say, the books have arrived. So this means that you're talking about a certain set of books. You're not talking about books in general, but you're talking about a certain group of books that the listener or the reader knows about. So using the before a plural noun or an uncountable noun specify a particular person or a particular thing rather than using a zero article in these patterns, which means that you are making a generalization. Alright, so what else are situations in which we should use zero articles? Well, as a rule of thumb, you shouldn't use an article before proper nouns. What are proper nouns? A proper noun is a noun that must always begin with a capital letter, even if it doesn't come at the beginning of the sentence. Like names of people, names of countries, names of organizations, and so on. Alright? So proper nouns are those nouns which must start with a capital letter regardless whether they come at the beginning of the sentence or not. So when we talk about holidays, names of holidays, or when we talk about special times of the year, when we talk about special types of months, days, or months and days in general, we should use zero articles. For example, when you say, let's meet at Christmas. So you don't say, let's meet at the Christmas, because Christmas is a proper noun and you're talking about it here. So you shouldn't use an article before it. You say at Christmas. Or in another example, you might say, I'll see you on Saturday, not on the Saturday. Although I'm talking about a certain specific day, which is next Saturday or the upcoming Saturday. But because Saturday and also Christmas are proper nouns, which must always begin with a capital letter, so we use them without articles. But you can use an article before a proper noun if you are talking or referring to a certain particular day or month or situation, I mean period of time. For example, they arrived on a Saturday as far as I remember. So I'm talking here about a Saturday. They arrived on the Saturday after my birthday. So I'm specifying here also another Saturday, which is the Saturday after my birthday. So the rule of thumb, which I'm trying to deliver to you here, is that you don't use any articles before proper nouns, especially when you're talking about special seasons, holidays, and so on, days of the week, months of the year, and so on. Also with seasons, the 4 seasons of the year: winter, spring, summer, and autumn, which is in American English called fall. And also in the phrase New Year, meaning the holiday period at Christmas and at the end of the day. With these, you can either use the article the, or you can use a zero article. For example, you can say in summer, that's a zero article, and summer is one of the 4 seasons of the year. Or you can say in the summer, so both of them are correct. I try to spend as much time as I can in the garden. Okay. So the point I'm making here is that with the seasons of the year, the 4 seasons of the year, and also with the phrase New Year, you can employ a zero article, or you can use the definite article the. If you can notice, we're talking here about things in general. So when I say in summer, I mean in every summer or in any summer. But if you want to specify a particular item from these things, use the. For example, you say, I first went skiing in the spring of 1992. So you're not talking here about all springs or spring in general, but you're talking about a particular spring, and that was the spring in the year 1992. So you must use the in that case. So you say I first went skiing in the spring of 1992. Some other situations in which you shouldn't use any articles, which means that you should employ a zero article concept, is when you're talking about the times of day, such as midnight, midday, or noon. You shouldn't use any articles with these expressions. So you say, if possible, I'd like it finished by midday or by noon. You don't say by the midday or by the noon. But when you're talking about a specific period of time here, and I'm referring to dawn, that's spelled D-A-W-N, you can say dawn with zero article, or you can say the dawn. So both of them are correct. For instance, you can say, he got back into bed and waited for dawn, or waited for the dawn. So dawn, which is the very first period of time during the day, you can use the, or you can use a zero article with it. The last point I want to make here is that you use a zero article after the preposition by when you talk about means of transport and communication. So you put by and you follow it with a certain means of transport or means of communication, and you don't use any article between them. Zero article. For example, you say, I generally go to work by bus. You don't say by the bus, okay, or by a bus. That's wrong. She notified me about the meeting by email, not by the email or by an email. That's because in this particular structure, starting with the preposition by and followed by a means of transport or a means of communication, you should employ a zero article notion or a zero article concept. So with this video, we finish our series about articles. We talked about indefinite articles a and an, the definite article the, and in today's video we discussed the situations in which we shouldn't utilize any article at all, which is called in grammatical language zero article. As usual, I call on you to subscribe to the channel so that we can grow our community, interact with the videos, and also share them with your friends and family members or anyone who might be interested in learning English, particularly English grammar. And as usual, I thank you very much for your attentive listening, and I look forward to seeing you in our next lesson. Enjoy the rest of your day, my friends, and goodbye for now.